to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie. And today we're in front of another one of the Christmas trees in the village of Kimberly. And Jill and I are going to focus the next few weeks on staff picks that were their favorite books. Books that got 4 stars from the staff. So Jill, kick us off.
So this is like my pick. So this is one of my favorite books that I read in 2025. It wasn't necessarily published in 2025. All of these are books that existed. They might have been published in 2025 because, you know, librarians like to read. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. And if you are thinking about reading this, I recommend during the winter time when you're thinking about hibernation. Sounds really attractive because it's really super fun. And not a lot happens in this book, but a lot happens in this book. So this was published in 2018. This is a novel about a young woman's efforts to duck the ills of the world by embarking on an extended hibernation with the help of one of the worst psychiatrists in literature and a battery of medicines she describes. So she's got Ambien in here and stuff like that because she just wants to sleep for a year. Our narrator should be happy, shouldn't she? She's young, thin, pretty, a recent Columbia graduate, works at an easy job at a hip art gallery, lives in an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, paid for, like the rest of her needs, by her inheritance. But there's a dark and vacuous hole in her heart. And it isn't just the loss of her parents or the way her Wall Street boyfriend treats her or her sadomasochistic relationship with her best friend Riva. It's the year 2000 in a city agglitter with wealth and possibility. What could be so terribly wrong? My Year of Rest and Relaxation is a powerful answer to that question. Though the story is of years spent under the influence of truly mad combination of drugs designed to heal her heroine from her alienation from the world, Moshfegh shows us how reasonable, even necessary, alienation can be. Both tender and blackly funny, merciless and compassionate, it's a showcase of the gifts of one of our major writers working at the height of her powers. It's like depression on a page, but it works, I promise. And it's so fun. Wow, one of my best reads.
My first read comes from Holly, our library director. This is Written in the Stars by Aisha Saeed. This was actually first published in 2015, and this is a YA book. It's a heart-wrenching novel exploring what it is like to be thrust into an unwanted marriage. Has Nyla's fate been written in the stars, or can she make her own destiny? Nyla's conservative immigrant parents have always said the same thing. She may choose what to study, how to wear her hair, and what to be when she grows up, but they will choose her husband. Following their cultural tradition, they will plan an arranged marriage for her, and until then, dating, even friendships with boys, is forbidden. When she breaks the rule by falling in love with Seth, her parents are livid. Convinced she has forgotten who she truly is, they travel to Pakistan to visit relatives and explore their roots. But Nyla's vacation turns into a nightmare when she learns that plans have changed. Her parents have found her a husband, and they want her to marry him now. Despite her greatest efforts, she is aghast to find herself cut off from everything and everyone she once knew. Her only hope of escape is Seth, and if he can find her before it's too late. Oh. So I'm guessing she chose this with our Chugtai Public Library sister library. So Written in the Stars, a YA pick by our director, Holly.
That's a good one. That sounds good. So my next one is a classic, written in 1993, which that's a classic now, 1993. It's Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. You've probably heard of this. It's kind of like gotten a lot of buzz this year because although it was written in 1993, it takes place in 2024 and 2025. And it's really kind of eerie, honestly, reading it. So another one of my favorites. My second favorite book I read in 2025, the classic. In 2024, the world is descending into madness and anarchy. One woman begins a fateful journey towards a better future. Lauren Olamia and her family live in one of the only safe neighborhoods remaining on the outskirts of Los Angeles. Behind the walls of their defended enclave, Lauren's father, a preacher, and a handful of other citizens try to salvage what remains of a culture that has been destroyed by drugs, disease, war, and chronic water shortages. While her father tries to lead people on the righteous path, Lauren struggles with hyperempathy, a condition that makes her extraordinarily sensitive to the pain of others. When fire destroys their compound, Lauren's family is killed when she is forced out into a world that is fraught with danger. With a handful of other refugees, Lauren must make her way north to safety, along the way conceiving a revolutionary idea that may mean the salvation of all of mankind. It reminded me a lot of The Road by Cormac McCarthy, because they're kind of doing a traveling thing, but very creepy and very important to read now.
My second pick is Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. This was a pick from Cassie, our billing coordinator, and she listened to it as an audiobook, which I know you did too, Jill, and you gave this a thumbs up. A lone astronaut, an impossible mission, and an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how he can complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates dead, his memories fuzzily returning, Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? So check out Project Hail Mary. Jill and I run the kids book club, and even some of the kids in the older section of the book club were reading Project Hail Mary and loved it.
Sixth graders are taking this on. You can do it.
Andy Weir's. And apparently, audiobook, great way to do it.
The audiobook is really, really good. And the movie is coming out in March. So.
And I think that's why there's a lot of interest in that book right now.
Yeah, worth it. So this was published in 2025. This is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this was one of my favorite books again. Taylor Jenkins Reid is a must-read for me when she comes out with a new book. So, and this lived up to the expectation. It became one of my favorite things. It's set in the 80s with astronauts. So astronauts seem to be a theme this year. Okay, Joan Goodwin has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. Thoughtful and reserved, Joan is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy at Rice University and as aunt to her precocious niece, Frances. That is until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first women scientist to join NASA's Space Shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go into space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, Joan begins training at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates, Top Gun pilot Hank Redmond and scientist John Griffin, who are kind and easygoing even when the stakes are highest. Mission specialist Lydia Danes, who has worked too hard to play nice, warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald, who is navigating her own secrets, and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer who can fix any engine and fly any plane. As the new astronauts become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flights, Joan finds passion and love she never imagined. In this new light, Joan begins to question everything she thinks she knows about her place in the observable universe. Then on December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, it all changes in an instant. So it's a little bit of a nail biter there. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
That's on my to-be read. So
I saw it on the lucky day today. So if you're here today...
My third pick is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, published in 2018. And this was 2 staff's favorite book that they read. Tracy, our adult services librarian, and Lauren, one of our library assistants on the second shift. It's an epic historical military fantasy inspired by the bloody history of China's 20th century and filled with treachery and magic. When Rin aced the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academies, it was a shock to everyone. To the test officials who couldn't believe a war orphan from Rooster Province could pass without cheating, to Rin's guardians who believed they'd finally be able to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and to Rin herself, who realized she was finally free of the servitude and despair that had made up her daily existence. That she got into Sinigard, the most elite military school in Nikan, was even more surprising. But surprises are not always good, because being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the South is not an easy thing. Targeted from the outside by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers she possesses a lethal, unearthly power, an aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism. Exploring the depths of her gift with the help of a seemingly insane teacher and psychoactive substances, Rin learns that gods long thought dead are very much alive, and that mastering control over those powers could mean more than just surviving school. Rin's shamanistic powers may be the only way to save her people, but as she finds out more about the god that has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and that it may already be too late. So The Poppy War. Pick from Two Staff, one of their favorite books they read this year.
That's on my list.
Published back in 2018.
What better time to put it on your list than now? What you're going to read next year. Lauren, our resident, who's she likes
thrillers
and like scary stuff, horror. She's a horror person. She said that Stephen King always wins the Goodreads Award, and this year he did not. Grady Hendrix won for this one right here. This was also published in 2025. It's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Another person I will read immediately, but sometimes he's a disappointment. But this
I've read a few, but I didn't read that.
They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wellwood home of St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape a commune, and Zinnia, a budding musician who knows she's going to go home and marry her baby's father, and Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant by who no one knows who. Everything the girls eat, every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by adults who claim they know what's best for them. And Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft. The power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives, but power can destroy as easily as it creates, and is never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. So, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, if you want some little horror that beat out Stephen King this year. Come on. I don't even know if Stephen King had a book.
The next pick, I hopefully you can read that title because I have an audio of it. It comes from Anne, our children's librarian. The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street by Karina Jan Glazer. This was published back in 2017, and Anne described this book as a book with a nice classic feeling. The Vanderbeekers have always lived in the brownstone on 141st Street. It's practically another member of their family. So when their reclusive, curmudgeonly landlord decides not to renew their lease, the 5 siblings have 11 days to do whatever it takes to stay in their beloved home and convince the dreaded Biterman just how wonderful they are. And all is fair in love and war when it comes to keeping that home. This is actually the first book in the Vanderbeekers series. It's followed by the Vanderbeekers in the Hidden Garden, and there are 7 books in that series. So if this one grabs you, there's more to follow. So a pick from Anne, our youth librarian.
Always good for a children's book, you know?
Excuse me.
You don't have to be a child to read children's literature. It's
Gosh,
great
no.
stuff. This is kind of related because it's sort of children's literature. So this is James by Percival Everett. This is another one of my choices. This is a reimagining of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both harrowing and satirical, told from the enslaved Jim's point of view. When Jim overhears that he's about to be sold to a man in New Orleans, he's separated from his wife and daughter forever. He runs away until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck has faked his own death to escape his violent father. As all readers of American literature know, thus begins the dangerous and transcendent journey by raft on the Mississippi River toward the elusive and unreliable promise of free states and beyond. Brimming with nuanced humor and lacerating observations that have made Everett a literary icon, this brilliant and tender novel radically illuminates Jim's agency, intelligent and compassion as never before. The author of this, Percival Everett, was in Madison recently, and I got to see him, and he is super, super smart, but you can't ask him anything about his books because he says he kind of forgets about them after he writes them. He's like, readers know more than he does about it.
Wow. That was one of my 5-star reads this year.
That's good.
And I went back and I read, listened to Huckleberry Finn just to refresh
That's smart
to refresh my brain, because I hadn't listened to that or read that since I was a kid. So I read and listened to that first, and then I read that, and that got 5 stars for me.
That would help a lot too, because I'm like, I don't remember Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah, I went back and started with that. Well, we talked about Lauren, and I've got another pick from Lauren. This is The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, and this was published in 2025. It's from the nationally best-selling author of The Luminous Dead and the Death of Jane Lawrence. Like we said, Lauren likes the horror, and
Yes,
that's really
she sure does.
It's a transfixing fever dream of medieval horror following 3 women in a besieged castle that descends ravenously into madness under the spell of mysterious godlike visitors. Amar Castle has been under siege for 6 months. Food is running low, and there has been no sign of rescue. But just as the survivors consider deliberately thinning their number, the castle stores are replenished, the sick are healed, and the divine figures of the Constant Lady and her saints have arrived. Despite the barricaded gates, so who knows, something's funny's going on, and soon the entire castle is under the sway of their saviors, partaking in intoxicating feasts of terrible origin. The war hero, Sarah Boyne, gives her allegiance to the Constant Lady. Phosine, a disorganized paranoid nun turned sorceress, races to unravel the mystery of these new visitors and exonerate her experiments as their source. And in the bowels of the castle, a serving girl, Tryla, is torn between her thirst for a secret vengeance against Boyne and the desperate need to escape from the horrors that are unfolding within the walls. As the castle descends into bacchanalian madness, forgetting the massed army beyond its walls in favor of hedonistic ecstasy, these 3 women are the only ones to see their situation for what it really is. But they are not immune from the temptations of the castle's new masters or each other, and their shifting alliances and entangled pasts bring violence to the surface. To save the castles and themselves will take a reimagining of who they are and a reorganization of the very world itself. So this sounds like an interesting book, interesting cast of characters.
And leave it to Lauren. I've never heard of this book.
No, The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, and like I said, published this year. So she's always got her eye on what's new in this genre.
She sure does. She's your horror expert.
It was one of her favorites from this year.
Well, we thank you for joining us. This is one of my favorite things when we share the good books that we read this year. You know, you get to find out what librarians are reading and what we like.
Exactly. Like I said, we've got a few more weeks of this actually, because the staff were very good about giving us their favorite picks, and Jill and I have our favorite picks. So we thank you for watching. This is probably the last one for the year with the holidays, I'm thinking.
Maybe. It might be.
We wish you happy holidays. You can find our videos on our Kimberly Public Library website, YouTube channel, and Facebook page. And until next time, keep reading. Let us know what your favorite books of the year were, and thanks for watching.
Bye.